Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. This is another episode of Fabric Executive Insights. So far at FabCon, we have heard about unification, AI, bringing data agents together. But in financial services, all that progress is only possible if it is trusted, secured, governed, and compliant. So for that, we have S&P Global talking to us about their fabric journey, how their adoption has been so far. And for that, we have Julian Robson, who leads the Anaplan division at S&P Global, to talk to us about how that journey has been. So welcome to the show, and thank you for being here. So we also have Diego Torres. He leads our capital markets division at Microsoft. So Diego, thank you and welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Before we get into the details, would love to understand your role at Microsoft, Diego. I know you talk to a lot of customers in the FSI section, or specifically capital markets. What are you hearing from those customers? Tell us a little bit about your role and what you do at Microsoft.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks again for the invite. What a conference! I mean, the energy, the announcements. It has been an incredible week. Thanks again for the invite. So, my role specifically at Microsoft, I oversee a team of cloud and AI specialists, and we help our customers understand how to best utilize Microsoft's cloud, our Microsoft Fabric, our analytics tool, and how to best utilize Azure AI to help customers extract business value from our tools. So we have an extensive partner ecosystem. A lot of our partners are here today. Mm-hmm. And with them, we work with our customers and try to help them figure out the right cloud strategy, the right analytics strategy, and the right AI strategy for their business.
Wonderful. So Julian, thank you so much again for being here. I know we had a lot of conversations, and there are tremendous transformational things that you're doing and leading at S&P Global. We would love to understand what you do. Let's start with your role and also where Fabric came into picture for you.
Thank you. And just echoing Diego's comments, great conference. Thank you, everyone, for obviously being here for this last part of the conference as well. So at S&P Global, my responsibility is really looking through the eyes of our end users within our FP&A division, so this in our corporate finance space, and really helping them to understand how their experience can be improved. Now, this was as it was 2-3 years ago. If we think about it now, everything, of course, is accelerating at pace. So this is a story for us around secure, trusted innovation. This isn't about running off, conquering the world on your own. This is about bringing people with you. So one of the key roles for my team and I is really working in partnership with all of our customers across many divisions within S&P. And I won't go into the company makeup, but I'm sure people can Google that. But really making sure that they feel part of this journey. So really the essence of my role is unlocking the way in which we leverage technology to solve problems and to improve the workflows that we manage.
Wonderful. So what I would like to also dig in a little more deep, sure, Julian, is S&P Global, as we all know, it's a enterprise scale organization. You lead a lot of different divisions, so to speak. You have data coming from various different disparate systems, and you utilize that data to not only unify, but also forecast for better metrics, better insights, what to do with that data for your future growth, all of that goodness. And you do have a lot of data warehouse, legacy operational tools. What is that one problem that you are trying to solve from a CFO lens?
Very good question. So if we think about our CFO lens, we have CFOs for each of our divisions, and we have the enterprise CFO as well. So one of the key parts of my role is to really distill the use cases that they all have into what is that enterprise mindset goal. And if I really think what it was as we went through multiple conversations at various layers within each of those organizations, it is trying to close the gap between the question and the answer. That is ultimately what we're trying to solve for in this short phase. So to your point, and with any organization, there is obviously a lot of historical technical architecture. I'm trying not to use the word debt, but there is a lot that we have to do. The key thing is being pragmatic about how and when you do that. We cannot simply rip up the playbook, start again. We're not A, that type of organization, but B, that is placing unnecessary operational risk 100%. Into our operation as well. So it is a mindful, careful, but yet strategic approach And to your point, as we assessed, how do we really unlock the value of our planning, budgeting, and forecasting tool, which is Anaplan? And again, I'm not here to talk about Anaplan today, but I am here to talk about how do we augment the capability, enhance the capability of this business rules engine. And that really came down to a number of providers, of which ultimately we chose Fabric. So that started for us at the middle part of last year, thanks to the strategic partnership of Microsoft, thanks to going above and beyond, which I really, really appreciated as we were in these early footsteps of our journey. We were able to start to create that unified structure. And the unified structures, I'm going to say something which is, of course, not remotely uninteresting to anyone here, which is that trust factor. How do we create trust in that foundational data that enables us to go and innovate?
No, wonderful. So, Diego, talking or hearing that from a customer themselves, when you are, before we get into unveiling or unpacking a lot of this customer mindset, talk to us about what capital markets is. For folks who doesn't understand or know a lot about what capital markets entail from a Microsoft perspective, and what are you hearing from data leaders in regards to legalities, the risk and compliance? What is that three big things that you take as a takeaways on making sure you are giving them what they're asking for, the top three things that are top of mind?
Yeah, so capital markets at Microsoft, we cover hedge funds, private equity companies, asset managers, and investment banks are some of the companies that we have in our capital markets business. Now, just echoing what Julian said, like Microsoft runs on trust, and that's deep. And we very much appreciate the partnership with S&P Global, and we do everything that we can to make sure not only with our tools and our products, but also the relationships that we have are built on trust. And from a legality perspective, when a customer is deploying Fabric, you know that our core DNA is building on trust. And so starting from the certification compliance, we have that with Fabric. Starting with the regulatory requirements that we know our customers need to meet, we meet those. And so we meet those off the bat. That's how our products are developed, just with the compliance requirements and the regulatory requirements in mind. And our security practice, I mean, we invest more than $1 billion annually on security. So we know that security is critical for a foundation. It was really exciting for me to hear the announcements around One Security this week. And we're double clicking into that. Security is critical. If you're going to develop an analytic strategy and a platform, it needs to be encryption end to end. You need to have row level security, column level security. You need to have private networking. You need to have object level access control. A lot of those announcements that were made this week were super exciting for me. So I would say it comes down to a few things. One, the foundation of trust. Two, making sure that the product is built to meet compliance and regulatory requirements that are required of our financial service customers. And then three, having that security, that governance foundation is critical for our financial service customers.
No, really well said. It is non-negotiable for Microsoft because that's what we run on, the trust. Now, for Julian, I know based on some of the things that you're really revolutionizing within your own org, you reduce the reporting capabilities from 6 hours to less than an hour. Can you talk to us or give us what that kind of looks like from a technical perspective, but also from a business lens?
Yeah, I think first of all, this was one of the key conversations we had with Microsoft right from the start, which is there's a big world, there's a big ocean we can tackle, but we need to be very specific about the problems that we're looking to solve. So I think to overuse the word foundational is annoying, but it is very important. Foundation upon foundation upon foundation. Sure. So if we looked at the way that we were operating in our global FP&A community, what we wanted to ensure is that each and every one of our incredibly capable colleagues is not encumbered by the latency of data moving between systems. So this is ultimately where the unified story came in with Fabric and the ability to surface the story quicker. What was really troublesome is if you think about our operating model that's working 24/7, whilst it was 6 hours, it could be many more hours depending on where you were in the actual world and how integral you were to answering the question. We're going to come back to question shortly, but it was really about making sure that both at a very basic level, reporting was available both to colleagues and executives who needed that information in real time. but also on the insight story that we weren't missing out on the opportunity cost of time.
That's great.
And that was really critical for us. So by leveraging the power we already had in the organization with regards to Anaplan, when we've coupled that with that unified story and capabilities and integrated capabilities of Fabric, it's unlocked a whole chain of possibilities that were simply not there before.
That's amazing. Now, Diego, you probably must have talked to hundreds of customers. What would their initial journey or walk through the phases of approach that you probably might have taken to successfully lead these customers to where they are today with their Fabric adoption?
Yeah, I mean, the data challenge, it's complex. And when we think about kind of what I'm seeing our customers focus in on, number one is it's data governance. It is critical.
That's
and you see
paramount.
a lot of customers start to look at their data governance and understand, hey, we need to probably classify all our data. We need to identify where we have PII or personally identifiable information. We need to understand who has access to this data. We need to make sure it has good data quality practices for data sets that are going to be used to make business decisions. So data governance is critical. And I'm seeing a lot of customers kind of double click into this space to make sure that data governance is set up correctly. Number two, I'm also seeing a shift. I mean, historically, we had customers that try to do the data lake for enterprise. I haven't met a customer that has done this successfully at scale. So what I'm seeing now is customers really take the approach of data operating model. So essentially a distributed data operating model where the data or the semantic model is developed at the business unit level. And so that's empowering the business user to understand that data and take that data and make better, extract insights from it to make better business decisions. So that's the second big shift I'm seeing is kind of the decentralized data model. I would say those are the two big ones. The third one is also, I would say, an acceleration from POCs to production. I think the tooling has gotten much better now, where I'm seeing a lot of customers really start to accelerate moving from POC into production, given how quickly some of the tooling is advancing. So just some of the things that I'm seeing.
Perfect. That brings me, and I'm curious, based on what you talked about, what are some of the things like, is it Spark engineering or data warehousing, real-time intelligence? What are some of the key components or capabilities that are being deployed?
Yeah, it's a good question. It really depends on the use case, right? So we think about our customers, that Fabric is a tool. It's a very powerful tool, but it's back to the business. They want to increase revenue. They want to decrease costs. They want to provide a better customer experience. They want to reduce risk, right? Like, so in my side, in capital markets, buy-side firms are taking all of this data, right? News feeds, social media feeds, satellite imagery data, order data book information. They're taking all the data that possibly can to try to identify alpha opportunities. And alpha opportunities, essentially, how can they find investments that provide a better return than the benchmark?
That's great.
And so this requires the majority of the modules, real-time intelligence for the time series data. Customers comfortable using data warehouse, they use data warehouse. If they're comfortable with Spark, they use Spark. But the nice thing about Fabric is it gives them the flexibility to use the tool that they want to use, and it doesn't matter what the data source is. Fabric has the capability to process all different kinds of data sources, unstructured, structured, real-time. And so that's really the power of the unification that Fabric provides.
Perfect. No, that is amazing. So Julian, based on our conversations, one thing that really resonated well with me, and I would love for our audience to learn more, is you shifted from a typical traditional approach to a driver-based organizational model. What does that kind of look like? Can you demystify that for us?
Yeah, sure. I feel like I do this on a daily basis. So when we think about traditional finance, there was a close period, there's a forecasting period. A lot of people do a lot of very good work trying to explain what happened. This, by definition, becomes a little bit kind of institutionally biased because you have a view of the world as an analyst. What we were trying to move towards is really the speed and accuracy story alongside the explainability story. So actually, what really is driving performance? And if we think about all of the incredible number and variety of macro data points, some of them more simple to understand, whether it's futures, fund rates, whether it's currency pairings, whether it's a tweet. I probably should an X or whatever it's called these days. But the point is there's a lot of high value, high frequency information, which we also want to be able to consume. The real point about driver base is you take the mystery away. So actually what you get is an understanding of where are you going and why did you arrive at a point. You can then think about, well, what are the questions I now need to ask? Because before I was still trying to work out how to tell the story. And that's really the driver-based world that we're moving towards. I think one of the key enablers is not just the Anaplan technology. It's a tool called Forecaster, if anybody is interested. But also it's talking about how do we ingest real-time data into those models, which are coming from disparate sources of information set. So when we think about these related data sets, whether it's Fed funds rates, whether it's CPI data, whether it's currency pairings, these are incredibly volatile capital markets, which are moving on a incremental basis, on a second-by-second basis. How do we start to bring that real-time information into the way in which we explain our future financial
That is
performance?
powerful.
So without Fabric, it is simply not possible.
Wonderful. Wonderful to know. I know we all want to know where you are headed towards using AI, both for Microsoft from an FSI perspective, as well as at S&P Global. Where do you see yourselves in 2 to 3 years with all the advent of AI and all the wonderful things that you're doing already? In 3 years, what would future look like with data agents and AI, really doing a lot of things efficiency?
I mean, I think even 3 days from here is a pretty difficult thing to
Rightly
answer.
said.
But if we really think forward, I think what's exciting to me and really kind of leaning into a lot of the conversations I've had here at FabCon this week, it's about moving from this layer of the agent providing you with data, a little bit of insight, but you still need to take that action. So there is still a deep human story. And the issue for me is that really is only solving a quarter of the problem. What we're looking for is this end-to-end operational agent that's saying, I can see what matters to you. I can see the performance indicators you want me to manage. I can help you now take the action in real time. So I think that is what really excites me. But if I may just build on a point around the question that we talked about before, I think what is incredibly powerful as an opportunity is moving away from the answer. The answer everyone has now. It's on the end of our phone. It's available to us. We're all subject matter experts in everything. It's commoditized. What's really important from the human layer is what is the efficacy of the question I'm asking? That is an unknown at this point because we tend to ask very similar questions, but really to open the frontier around what is the strategy we don't yet know, that really resonates around what are the questions we have not yet asked. And for me, that is what is most exciting over the next 3 days to 3 years.
Really well said.
Yeah,
What do you think, Diego? Where is Microsoft headed in terms of FSI, serving FSI customers?
Yeah, so I'll talk about customers. Look, 2 to 3 years from now, I would expect the companies that really took advantage of AI in the space have agents across teams. Every employee has multiple agents. Every team has multiple agents, and it's going to allow organizations to operate more efficiently and effectively. But again, the critical component is getting the data right,
100%.
getting the data governance right, getting security right. It's critical that we help our customers just make sure that as you're thinking about the AI and the agents, that's fantastic. But we also need to think about getting the data right. So it's actually really nice to see data agents come announced this week, GA.
Yeah.
The nice thing about that is you can now have data agents that are grounded on your semantic model and Fabric. So this can be one agent that's anchored on a specific data set that's orchestrated across other agents through Microsoft 365 Copilot, et cetera. So you can kind of see the end-to-end story. So I think there's going to be agents for every employee. Every team will have agents. Organizations will operate much more efficiently and effectively, in the organizations that really take the time to get the data correct are gonna leapfrog and be in a better position to capitalize on this AI agent development.
Julian, I'm going to piggyback on what you said earlier, It's going to be annoying to talk about foundation all day long, but that is the way to start. If you don't have your foundations right, on all the things that you just mentioned, Diego, be it your bringing your unification or security posture or governance. So once you lay that foundation, the building is going to be super strong. So that's what is essential. Thank you so much for sharing your insights with us.
Thank you very
today.
much.
Thank
Thank you, S&P, for the partnership as well.
And likewise,
Thank you very
Microsoft,
much.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you all.
What a conversation. Everything you've been watching here was captured live at FabCon and SequelCon in Atlanta, from the interviews to the demos to the community insights that make these events so special. If you're into Microsoft Fabric, SQL, and the future of data, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. And speaking of next, we're taking this show to Barcelona. FabCon and SequelCon Barcelona are happening this September 2026, and it's going to be packed with big announcements, deep technical sessions, and one amazing global data community. Hit the link in the description or scan the QR code on the screen to register and use code FABTV to save €200 off your ticket. As always, thank you so much for watching. Keep being awesome, and we'll see you in the next one.